We're going to go over simplifying expressions and equations. One of the very first things you need to do with any math problem is make it as simple as possible. Try to make it as easy to deal with. The problem could have numerous variables in it. It could have a bunch of parentheses, a lot of plus and minus signs. We need some techniques to make this problem easier to deal with. And one of the first things I'm going to go over is the fact that if it's got too many signs in it, you need to use your multiplication rules and make it to where it doesn't have as many signs in it. And what you can do is this. If there are two signs beside each other, you can then multiply those signs together and make it one sign. That's going to make these problems that have a bunch of signs in it much easier to deal with. So, you need to know your multiplication rules for integers primarily. Those rules are this. If the signs are the same, then it's positive. For example, 2 times 3, 6. 3 times 3, 9. Notice I multiplied two positive numbers together, got another positive number. However, if I go -2 times -2, -2 times -2 is a positive 4. -3 times -5, positive 15. So if you see two signs beside each other and the signs are the same, you can simply write down one positive sign in that spot. And we're going to go over some examples of how to do that. The other multiplication rule we need to remember is this. If the signs are different, your answer is always going to be negative. That means if I take -2 times 3, -6. -8 times +2, -16. If the signs are different, you're going to write down just one negative sign in that spot. Now sometimes people like to write this like this, meaning same, positive. Meaning if I see two signs beside each other, like this right here, I multiply those two signs together and I only write down one sign, a positive sign. Same thing here. If I multiply two positives together, I get a positive. So if you see this in an equation or an expression, you simply multiply those two together and write down that one sign. Same, positive. And then people like to write this down. They like to write down, hey, different, then it's negative. If I see a negative times a positive beside each other, I multiply them together, write down that one sign, negative. If I see a positive and a negative, I multiply them together, write down a negative. So a lot of times people like to write in their notes, same, positive, different, negative. And we're going to go over some examples of this. So let's look at these examples. Here's our first example. To simplify this, to make this easier to put in my calculator, or if you're not using a calculator, just to figure it out, I see that I've got two signs that are sitting right beside each other. I need to rewrite this problem to where there is one sign in that spot right there. So I write down -10, and then I remember those rules that I have right here. If the signs are different, then my answer is going to be negative. Instead of these two signs, I write down one sign. And that's all we're going to go over, is seeing these situations where you see two signs, rewrite the problem where there's only one sign. That way I can clearly tell that that's a -12 there. Or they'll give you a problem like this. Okay, I need to rewrite this problem because right now it's got way too many signs in it. -2x, I've got two signs beside each other, a positive and a negative. If the signs are different, I write down one negative sign, -5. I've got two signs that are the same. I need to multiply them together, put down a positive, because if the signs are the same, it's positive. Same with this one. Look at this. The signs are the same. Now I can tell exactly what sign goes with each one of these numbers. This is a -2, this is a -5, that's a +3, and this is a +12. So it's going to work for this type of problem. It can even work for equations. Say I'm given this equation right here. Yes, it has parentheses in it, but still there are two signs beside each other. I need to multiply those two signs together, write down one sign, and now I can clearly see, if I'm going to solve this equation, what I need to do to both sides. If there are two signs beside each other, always multiply those two signs together and write down one sign. That's going to make it much easier to deal with. Here's another equation. I need to simplify this equation before I go to solve it. I need to make sure there is one sign in front of each number. 0.3, a negative times a positive is a negative 2x is equal to negative 6.5. So from this point on, if you have two signs that are beside each other, multiply them together and write down one sign.